Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Excel to Excellence. Today we are going to learn about pivots and how do we make dashboard out of pivot charts. Now pivots are really useful in drawing your data into various analysis and various data sets in terms of slicing and dicing to get the view of various ways to draw the data to get the sense of how your data is looking, in terms of how do you want to make a decision out of it. So pivots are uh, great feature which helps to do that. And then there's something really lovely about pivots which allows you to make pivot charts, and using that you can make dynamic dashboard. Yes, I repeat, it's dynamic dashboard. You can click on the buttons, you can create the buttons, and you can click on the buttons, and the charts will keep changing based on how the data is. So let's continue looking into this. And before that, please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon so that you can get the notification. Do not forget to like my channel and send your comments so that I can make use of it. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's start with pivots. Now in this case, let's understand this data a little bit before we get on with pivots. Now if you look at this table, this has the date on which the sales was made. This is a color manufacturing company, so it is just giving you the code of the color or the name of the color which has been sold, and then it tells you which region the colors were sold, how many units, and what is the dollar value of the sales. So it contains the data for about 4 years, and we have about 452 rows really, and we're going to look into it. So one thing is quite important to know, that in case we are doing pivots, it's quite useful and we can really make good sense out of it if you are dealing with large data. So in this case, we have more than about 400 line items, and in this case, it is very useful to have this. Let's get started. So before we kind of create the pivot, there's one basic thing that you have to keep in mind is you have to select the entire thing. Or maybe if you select this table, if this is in the tabulated form, then you can go ahead and in the insert tab, click on pivot table. Now, if you click on this pivot table, there are a bunch of options here. Let's understand this. So in this case, it is saying select the data range, table or the range, which means this is my table, this is my data range, and this is where we want to make the analysis out of. Now the second one, this is something that you can connect to external data source like your Access, maybe your SQL, Oracle, any of the databases that you might want to choose. Now, third thing, which is choose where you want to the pivot table to be placed. So you can place it in this particular screen or in this particular sheet, or you can do it in the new worksheet. I would prefer to keep it on new worksheet so that I can we have the space for movement. Yeah. I'll come and talk about the data model in a bit, but before that, let's get started and click OK. Now, if you look here, this particular sheet has pivot table. It has laid the pivot table in this particular sheet. Now, what do we need to do here? If you look here, all the headers which were there like date, color, region, units, and sales, they have all formed as a field here. Now, if you look on the bottom, there are four boxes. One is called filters, columns, rows, and values. Now, what does filter, columns, rows, and value means in here? Now, the way if we lay the data in this fashion, which means if it falls in the row fashion, if we want to see the data in the row fashion, we have to we can plug in any of the field under row. Let me give you an example here. So for example, if you want to know, if you want to show color in the rows, so you can put color field, you can drag and drop color field on the rows. As soon as you drop color field on the row, it shows you the value like blue, green, red, and silver. Now if you want to see that blue has been sold into different region, what are the different uh, value for which it has been thrown into horizontally. So let's just put the region in the columns. Now if you look here, it has laid the complete chart in which it is showing blue, green, red, and silver, that is colors, into different zones, which is east, north, south, and west. Now what we need to do is the field sales is really all about the dollar value for which we have done the sales. So I can pretty much throw values in this particular field into values. Now see what happens. It automatically splits the data from for the color blue, how much is being sold for in the eastern region, north, south, west, and what is the total sales that has happened for the color blue. Now, here we have not used dates and units at the moment. Now, the best part is if you use the filters here, you can pretty much do that. And if you want to see that, okay, what is the sales that has happened on 30th of Jan? So it will tell you, okay, for 30th of Jan, only the sale for the color blue into the northern region has happened. I can do a multiple select. I can then select 4 or 5 different dates and can give you a combination of what sales has happened on these particular dates. So I can pretty much go and select all, and it will let you know everything in here. Now let's learn a little more about pivots. So in pivots, the good part is that I've used this kind of data, so to kind of include the date in this case. So when we use the date, say for example, I remove color from here and I use date in here. You see that the date, it has given you almost like 400 plus dates are available. But then you want to know really that you don't want to know by each and every date. Maybe you want to know by months in that case, and month and year. So what we can do is if you right click, there's an option called group. In this case, you can actually make the data into different quarters, into different, split it by years, and you can have a view like this. So in this case, you know that for 2016, you have made the sales into east, north, south, and west region. But then if you want to go in detail and know in quarter one how much sales has been done and quarter two how much sales has been done, you can pretty much get it from here. So right click on the group. You might want to remove quarter. It'll make things much more simpler. To me, it looks much simpler. Now, if you collapse everything, you get it by year. Yeah. Now, the same thing, you can actually do it, keeping multiple things in here. Now, say for example, if you want to I want to pan year horizontally. I can take out the date from here and then pan E, something like this. Now you can see that in the on the row wise you have east, north, south, and west, and at the top you have the numbers by year. Makes life much easier. Now, say for example, if you further like to know that in east, what are the how much is the sales by color, you can actually put color below region, and you can then see that how much sales has been done for the color blue, green, red, and silver in east, blue, green, red, and silver for north, blue, green, red, and silver for south, blue, green, red, and silver for west by the years. There are multiple ways of putting the data. Now, say for example, if you want to know how many units have been sold against the dollar value, you can actually put the units just below the sales or sales of the, the dollar value. Now, if you look here, it is pretty much telling you that the sum of the sales and sum of the units. Let me put units on the top. You'll see these are your units. Now I can go ahead and select these and show this more into dollar sign, under the dollar sign, so makes life much easier for people to understand what are we talking real in this case. So let me reduce in here. So this is pretty much giving you a sense that sum of units, and then you have sum of sales, which means sum of sales is the dollar value, units is the number of units sold. So we know all of these data can be panned into pivots so easily. Yeah. Now you can keep or adding whatever different cuts and views you want to. In this case, if you want to know, well, you already have it by year, but you can put year on the left as well. Say for example, you can do it like this as well. So in here you have for 2016, for east you have blue, green and red, blue, green and red, blue, green and red. I hope there is no silver there. No. So silver started to add from 2018 then. So these are the different views and the insights that you get from these data, the way you can pan it into an pivot table. So I have used pretty much everything here. Now I will use this to draw the pivot based dashboard, which I'll cover in the next segment. Okay, now let's make the pivot dashboard out of this pivot, which we have used in the earlier session. Now in this case, if you look here, I would like to draw a chart first. So I would go to insert, and then there's something called pivot chart. If you fetch any chart from the regular chart, this dashboard will not work. You have to fetch it from the pivot chart. Now if you fetch it from the pivot chart, it pretty much tells you what type of chart would you like to draw. So let's start with the column. Yeah. Now in this, if you see here, this chart has already been done. Now I would use this for my dashboarding purposes. Now I'll go ahead and go to value field setting. I'm sorry. Let me go to okay. Hide all chart buttons. I would want the cleaner look here. So I may want to go ahead and create a different view in terms of how the data is looking. So with legend keys, Would you want to look like the data to look like this? You can pretty much do this with legend keys. I create the data, and in that case I do not require this because it's a repetition. So I have a fairly simple and nicely made chart. So I create a new sheet and I would like to call it as dashboard. In this case, I would go ahead and cut from here and paste it into the dashboard sheet. Let me do that. Okay, so I've done that. Also, what I'm going to do is there's something called under analyzer, there's something called insert slicer. Okay, so right now we have the slicer by year. Let me fetch the year in this case. Yeah, this slicer is there, and I'm gonna cut and put the slicer right here. And if you see, this is my dashboards. To give the cleaner look, let me go to view and remove the grid line. Remove the grid line. So to give a better view, let me go and sure this should have yes, there we go. I remove the grid line to get the better view really. Uh, okay, I give this color. Now, now I can have multiple option in there. So I'll go to slicer setting. I'll say, hey, hide the items where there is no data. Let me remove the header from in here. So I can go and reduce the size of this slicer. Okay. This is one cut that I have in this case. I can go ahead and select 2016. It just shows 2016, 2018. So as you click, it refreshes the data. You can use control key and select the multiple fields. So you select the multiple field, it will pan the data accordingly. Now let's get to second part of it. Now what we need to do, I need to show, I'll create a copy of the same pivot and I would like to make certain changes. So what I would like to do is I would like to know by region as well. So I have used the region in this case. So in this case, I would again create something called pivot chart by region. I would go ahead and hide all buttons and probably then go to chart and add the with the legend key. In this case, it again shows you by blue, but now this cut is by the region. The earlier cut was more from the year perspective. This is by region. So I'll go ahead and create another slicer which talks about region. We select that and it gives you the region. Let me go ahead and cut this, paste it next to this. I can give, I can make it look a little different as well if you want. I mean, depending upon what is our requirement, and I'll go ahead and cut this slicer, paste it pretty much here, and oops, must be pasting it here. It just got tagged there. So I do it by region. In this case, I can go ahead and do the same thing a slicer setting, remove the thing and remove this, the same as one. Now, what do we want? What all other cuts and pieces that I can do with this data? Let me see. Now, we had it by N- we had it color as a base and we had okay, so I would like to show more things in here. So what do I need to do? I want to add, say, the units as well, right? Let me see. Okay, I mean not do it in this particular set because that will change the slicer that I've created for the region. So I'll create another pivot chart. So in here now I go ahead and put it by units. So I go ahead and put it by units in this case, and then I draw a chart which tells me, say, line item. Okay, so I'll go ahead and select this and hide all field thing. I might want to go ahead and again show legends, and then I don't want this. Makes my chart bigger. I would now go ahead and create the slicer for units. Now here I can cut this, put it into here. I can readjust the size based on how big is my dashboard screen looks like. And I'll go ahead and cut this one here as well. Let it let me put it on as a menu item, and then I can go ahead and in the slicer setting I'll report the hidden, so to show the unit so people know what this is all about. The other thing which I can do is, since this is a small thing, I can actually make two buttons in one row, so to save a little more space there. Yeah, I go ahead and reduce the size of this one. Now if you pretty much look here, I I can right now click here. This is if you want to connect all the charts with one particular menu, you have to do this by using something called report connection, and you can connect all of these. Same is the case here. You can connect this. Now go here, you can connect all of these together. Now this is how your entire chart would look like. You can actually, you have a space to add another chart here based on your requirement. Now if I go here and select only 2016, it only fetches the data for 2016. Yeah, I can go ahead and select 2019 and it will only show you the data for 2019. It dynamically changes. If I select, if I have to select two options, two buttons, I click on control button and select this. It pretty much fetches me the data for both the years. And I can keep doing this for multiple years. Now in this case, let the years be as is. I just want to know about East. So or say north, or maybe I can select north and east together. If you look here, how the data is dynamically changing, and this is how you can fetch your, you can do your dashboarding. Now, say for example, for all of this, I just want to know the data for, 8 units that has been sold. So it gives you the view of 8 units. I can keep adding the different buttons and it will fetch you the bigger data. So I hope this video was helpful. Please let me know with your comments and your feedback. Please subscribe to my channel and do like my video. Thank you so much.